Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into my YouTube channel. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. That way you won't miss any of the videos as they come out. Sitting here at the tackle table, thinking about some of the things that I've shared in the last few weeks, the seasonal relevance of some of the tips I've shared, as well as the patterns, the baits, the presentations, different things like that. And I wanted to bring something to you guys that may not be new, but just kind of revisit it. First, let's talk about conditions, because fishing is all about conditions. Let's talk about some of the things that we're faced with, say in the South, East Texas, that type of thing. We're faced with seasonably warmer conditions for the 2nd of October. We're typically 10 degrees cooler by this time of the year, something that I really look forward to after a hot summer in Texas. The other things that have happened that are natural is the lake levels are dropping because obviously they continue to flow some out the dam through the rivers and feed the rivers and the reservoirs down if they're connected in a chain. You have evaporation. Evaporation is going to drop the water level some. Of course, the warmer than normal water temperatures. And then we have the weed growth that's been growing all year. In some of the places there isn't any weed growth. Couple that with the fact that there hasn't been much rain, and you don't have a lot of watercolor. So you've got clearer water, lower water, warmer water. So those are the conditions. Some of the things that have worked for me in the past under these types of conditions, and for that matter, regardless of whether it fits into those conditions, some of the baits that have been really good to me over the years, these are baits that have worked well for me when the water's just warm and clear. So I want to give you 3 different baits. They're actually power fishing reaction style baits. I did a little video on soft plastics and tricky stuff that I do there. You may want to check that video out, but we're going to talk about hard baits, wire baits, reaction style horizontal moving baits. But getting right to the point, I want to talk about the Strike King Mini 3. This is a crappie size crankbait. This size of crankbait has worked really well for me in the warmer months and clearer water. It's got a rattle in it, different than a standard square bill. But just to give you an idea, there's the Series 3. This is a Mini 3. This is a little bait. I throw this on 10-pound tests, sometimes 8-pound tests to get it to dive a little deeper. It's got a steeper angle on the bill than say a standard square bill. So it's gonna dive deeper. It's gonna get a little deeper than this 1.0. You compare that guy to the Series Mini 3, different action. Of course, not a round bit, not a square bill, but a round bill. So it's gonna dive deeper, different angle, longer bill. It's gonna wobble different. This is a bait bass don't see very much. I've talked about in some of the videos in the past about this time of year, you have young of the year bait fish, whether they're silver sides or glass minnows or whatever type of nondescript little bait fish that are in the lake outside of shad. They're gonna be running a little bit smaller than this by this time of year. Maybe some are already this big, but these are bait fish that bass eat. You would be surprised at some of the fish that I've caught with this little bitty bait. I would upsize some of the hooks. Just don't pigeonhole it as a warm water in through the fall type bait. This is a bait that works really well in heavy fishing pressure situations. The Strike King Mini 3 is a great little crankbait that I really don't like talking about, but I'm letting this one out of the bag here. Just got a couple different colors. Of course, Sexy Shad works well in really clear water, that green gizzard. When I'm faced with a little bit more stain, the Chartreuse Sexy Shad works really well. Moving on, spinnerbaits are my favorite in the fall, and we're not quite experiencing fall conditions, but spinnerbaits are key for me. This thing's the Strike King Baby Burner, and this Baby Burner is great because it's got these razor blades. They're thinner and they're not as wide as a traditional willow leaf blade. You want to burn a spinnerbait this time of year. Burning it around bluffs, weed beds, around brush, different things like that. Anytime you can get something that you can burn. But this one's got a hidden weight, so you can actually throw this really far and keep it tracking through the water really well, and those little blades will spin really well for you, and you can keep it upright and burning and not having it blow out on the surface. A little spinnerbait can really make some things happen. And when I mean little, I mean little. And this is the baby burner. This is a 1/4 ounce baby burner. Are great at imitating just young of the year little bait fish like I'm talking about. Silver sides, glass minnows, pond minnows, different things like that that's in the water. They're about that size. This is a great bait to be throwing around this time of year. I remember George Cochran won the Bassmaster Classic on Lay Lake, I believe. And he was throwing what they ended up calling the Mr. Money, which is basically a 1/4 ounce Strike King Premier Plus spinnerbait. This is basically roughly the size and the blade configurations. 1/4 ounce spinnerbaits really do work well and will catch you some bigger fish, as George Cochran proved. I'm a big advocate of putting trailers on my spinnerbait, a little split tail trailer like this, or a Strike King Swim and Shiner, a little swim bait on the back. I'd trim it down so it doesn't look so out of place on the back there. Just try to trim it to size to get it to go on there. Or even the Strike King Rage Swimmer, the smaller one like this. This is the 3.25 size. Telling you, spinnerbaits will catch you fish. I know a lot of guys they've kind of fallen out of favor. Big advocate of the spinnerbait. And lastly is another bait that I really don't want to talk about. The Mini 3 is one thing I don't want to talk about. I think a lot of guys throw little spinnerbaits. But the last one I don't want to talk about, but I'm going to, is a little buzzbait. This is just an 1/8 ounce buzzbait. This guy, he just seems like really nothing on top of the water, but you've got to reel it pretty quick. It's an 1/8 ounce. Throws like a rocket. Some guys will throw them on a spinning rod. I throw them on a bait caster. You got to reel it pretty quick, and I think that's the thing. That's part of the key to getting bites on this. Is you got to reel it pretty quick. That little blade is just humming, and it's coming across the water. Total reaction strike. The fish don't get a good look at this, and it's just screaming across the water. Comes by, you know, a stump, a dock, a weed bed, different things like that, and it will get you some bites. This is really, I mean, I've seen guys catch them on the Elite Series. When I used to fish the Elite Series, this is something that not a lot of guys like to talk about. An 1/8 ounce buzzbait will catch some fish, and some good ones too. Another one that's a little bit different, this is the Strike King Tri-Wing. Same size, 1/8 ounce size, but it's got 3 blades, so it can slow it down if you're in a little bit dirtier water. But smaller buzzbaits are key. Man, I'm sweating out here, guys. I just can't wait for fall to get here. But these are some baits that really work year-round in tough conditions and conditions that maybe aren't conducive to really catching big bags of fish. We think of finesse type stuff. And I'm going to say that reaction type stuff will still get you some bites and get you some big bites. So think micro baits, 1/8 ounce, 1/4 ounce, little bitty crankbaits, little spinner baits and buzz baits to catch you some fish. And hopefully finally we're going to break into the fall any day now. Please like this video if you do like what I'm sharing here. Again, like I said, if you haven't subscribed and you'd like to keep in touch with all that's coming out, please hit the subscribe button, but also leave a comment. I'll be curious hear what you guys are thinking about some of these different baits, but also I'd love to hear some success stories. I'm venturing to guess that not a lot of people are going to want to talk about these smaller baits, and they just want to keep them a secret. So anyways, good fishing to you guys. Thanks again for watching. Take care.